right, hello. I would like to start by welcoming everybody here. For those who I haven't met, my name is Mira, and I just wanted to start by sharing a little bit about BASE, since that's the umbrella organization that our writing group is under. BASE is basically this awesome pluralistic Jewish young adult group, meaning that it's open to people from all different backgrounds, denominations, and different beliefs. It's really awesome, and they do a lot of different events, everything ranging from retreats to arts events to Shabbats to activism, just kind of everything across the board. So while there's many different BASE groups across the country, we are with the BASE Brooklyn group, and what's kind of cool about them is they do off-BASE events, which is basically where they give a community member who's really passionate about something a platform for creating it, and they help to share it, and they help with outreach and things like that. So that's essentially like what our group is under. So our group started a few months ago because at the time, I was feeling really down and challenged by everything happening with COVID. Definitely feeling that social isolation. And I was thinking about like what an amazing outlet writing could be, and how that's something that you could actually do virtually. So then kind of from that feeling of like this darkness and isolation with everything going on, I created this writing group. And I wanted it, the big thing was it wasn't supposed to be a space for like doing the perfect piece or, giving the perfect critique or trying to write the best piece you could. But instead it was just supposed to be a place for like supportive community, and a place where people could express themselves and know that you're in a community where people will support you and where, success is just showing up. So it's a space where people are just consistently writing, regardless of how the piece is. And, at the time I thought it would only be a summer gig, but lo and behold, here we are. People ended up liking it so much that we decided to go through the year. We meet every single Thursday via Zoom, and every week a different group member actually leads the writing session, and they share a prompt. And then we write together, and then we get into smaller breakout rooms and actually share our pieces. So I know for me, it's been one of the most grounding things during this challenging time. So I'm really excited to see how far it's come and all the amazing leadership roles that people have taken on. It's been so cool to see this community form. And, in one of our sessions, someone mentioned, why don't we do a fundraiser? So we did. We had a little tech issue, which is why we're filming this now, for the recordings that were missed so that people can still be able to hear all of them. But it was an amazing night. We raised money for the nonprofit, The Right of Your Life. For those who don't know, it's a nonprofit that offers art and writing cultural arts programs to all kinds of backgrounds, to people in schools, people in correctional institutions, mental health facilities, and community centers. And they basically work with youth who have been impacted by crime or trauma or adversity, and through writing they'll teach resilience and do healing through self-expression, and all of the facilitators are all trauma informed. So we're so excited that we actually in that one night, thanks to all of you, raised almost $1,000. So huge thank you, and the organization has sent out a letter thanking us as well, and we're really excited. And now, without further ado, we will share our pieces.
Sunset of summer, Pittsburgh, PA. Driving to Pittsburgh in late summer means scorched skin on leather seats, the sun beating down on my right arm, resting against the edge of the window, but only for 10 seconds, as my mom flicks the dials of the air conditioning to 65. Since she's behind the wheel, I relent, draping a light jacket over my bare legs. From the glove compartment, she pulls out MapQuest directions as old as a dog's lifespan, littered with coffee stains, its edges crinkled. Somewhere towards the edge of New Jersey, she swaps out the intolerable noise of my music with the soothing sounds of an audiobook. It lulls me into a dreamless sleep, somewhere on the outskirts of the second chapter. I wake up in Pennsylvania to wheels bumping along the pavement, my dad's voice ringing over the car speaker, wishing us safe travels. The billboards peek out of bushes and into my line of sight. They remind me that I can find Jesus in my soul and sheepskin coats a few exits away. Harrisburg is for splitting chicken fingers, piling my pockets with honey mustard packets. We watch as families climb out of minivans and crowd the long tables of the rest stop food court. Eventually, it's my turn to drive, so my mom can get some sleep. Although I coast comfortably, skirting the speed limit, Within an hour, she asks to switch, her knuckles white from clutching at the side door. On I-76, we dip in and out of tunnels, carved from the bottoms of mountains. We reach the base of Allegheny, Alehenu. Its butchered symbols tumble over and over from our lips. By the time we arrive in Pitt, my legs turn to paperweights, my eyes heavy from intermittent concentration. We pull up onto the street where my sister and brother-in-law made their home in the mid-2000s, many late summers ago. Driving to their place means half a day closer to chins on the crooks of necks, the creak of the staircase under tiptoed feet, the comfort of the library with its labyrinth of books lining the stretched-out shelves. We spend a short stream of seamless days snuggling under shared blankets during movie nights, reading my niece's handwritten books, toasting to health and more health with a unanimous clink of glasses. On our last night, we interlink arms during the after-dinner walk, the sunset of summer casting a shadow over familiar faces. Our shoes slosh against piles of premature leaves as we follow fragmented porch lights with languid footsteps, stretching the start of our final hours together. Being in Pitt feels like stillness, like silence after an exhale, the squinting of eyes before sleep sets in. I'm reluctant for the closeness to diverge, for the hugs to fade into the background of memory, for Pitt to turn back into a dot on the map. Although morning comes, I approach it slowly, stuffing snacks in Ziploc bags, studying the contours of tired faces and outstretched arms. The sounds of sad and bye fill the crisp air until words blur through the dusty car window. When the car pulls out of sight, I look ahead towards fall, reading MapQuest directions in reverse.
Hi, my name is Ben, and this is my piece, The Distance Between Us, for the Night of the Arts. My piece is about my experience growing up in Maplewood, New Jersey. I talk about different people, and I use names, but I've changed all of these names for the purposes. And keep in mind that this is what I experienced when I was growing up over 10 years ago. So the issues I'm talking about may have been changed, and I think they have been improved upon. So with that disclaimer, here is my piece. Change. The distance between us widens, although my 11-year-old mind can't grasp the significance of it. Distance. My 30-year-old mind crafts this old, new reality through the socio-ecological lens, breaking down the chasm between us in terms of educational policy, housing laws, and little boys not having the motivation to persist. It was a warm day in May. The leaves had just come into their own, shimmering green leaves, blessing our day with life. Life my friend Greg and I were living without well-thought-out plans, even plans that went more than 30 seconds into the future, playing tag. Greg, we're going to run through their yard. I don't know them. Don't worry, Ben. They're friends of mine. Get off my property. What are you doing in my backyard? Sorry, I thought my friend knew you. Running, panting. I thought you said you knew them. Laughter. More trouble. Wrestling, watching Charlie's Angels, listening to music, skateboarding, football. That spring and summer was filled with joy. I was blessed to sit next to you in 5th grade. Blessed to be around your kind heart and brain that had even less common sense than mine. 6th grade. Why does everyone in my class look like me? Where's Greg? Chasm. Our community is divided by Springfield Avenue. Our community is divided by real estate prices. Community. We could have been one of the premier cities in the Northeast if we stuck together. But at the turn of the century, Newark, New Jersey splintered into Irvington, the Oranges, Montclair. Splintered, the tax base, the land and the industry of our premier city fragmented. People wanted a suburban lifestyle for themselves. Fading, drawing money from an empty well from the city that has gone to sleep. Selfishness. We don't hit anyone, we don't punch anyone, we just choose not to participate, not to be part of the team. But with money and power, does responsibility come with this power? I wasn't in class with Greg again until my senior year of high school, and I haven't hung out with him until a 10-minute drunken catch-up at my 10-year high school reunion. I could still sense the kindness in his heart, the kindness that seeped confidence slowly into my soul for all of the 10 minutes that I saw him. How come so many of my peers are gone? Chris, Mary, may he rest in peace. Douglas, may he rest in peace. The others whose names I can't recall, may they rest in peace. Maplewood is a stigma-free town. We use politically correct words. Our school district brags about Lauryn Hill, our star. Maplewood, nice doesn't equal just. The tracking system that segregated students at 11 years of age doesn't make up for being polite. We brag about our demographics. Instead, we should worry about our disparity. We don't even know. This selfish mindset has gone too far. People can't pull themselves up by the bootstraps when they're 11. Change, a necessity, a mirror, the first step.
I'm 17 years old, and I just got my first car. A 1995 Ford Concert with a white body and a burgundy interior. There's freedom in this car. Even though cell phones existed, our behaviors with cell phones did not exist. I love that freedom, driving to the border between Long Island and Queens, buying Schwisser sweets and smoking them on the side of the road. So much fun on the side of the road. I dream and long for a day that we could just play like we did in high school, with no need for entertainment, just by actually being together. The laughter would unfold. I don't remember the day I got my car. I remember getting the papers in New Jersey from my mom's friend. I remember driving to school and stopping to get a bagel. Often with that girl who lived near Nana's old apartment. What was her name? Were we even friends? Or was it the joy of just having someone to be in the car with me, having someone to go and stop and get bagels? My best friend was Rachel. I'm not sure if I knew it. Maybe if I knew it, I would have cherished it more. I just remember that she made me laugh. Riding in cars, ditching school, and going to the record shop to get the new Oasis album, parking at the Greek Orthodox Church parking lot. Windows down, air, music blasting, dance party. I remember the I don't care attitude. Sneaking back into the school during the assembly. Rachel is still one of my best humans, but friendship looks different now. In the age of COVID, in your 30s. Rachel's married. Rachel is in her bubble. I'm in my bubble. Sometimes I miss the hours standing on street outside of cars. Sometimes I miss the hours giggling. I worry that we use the internet as a way to distract instead of communicate. I'm tired. I must go home and rest. Rest being looking at people's likes instead of standing on the street doing nothing, driving and listening to music, windows down. The songs from my youth still give me warm feelings. Songs with Rachel's, songs on mixtapes, written with Sharpie. Skip CDs, scratches from falling to the bottom of my car. I miss mixtapes and doing nothing. And boy, was it something.
Mom left me these popsicle molds. That's such a weird framing. She left them to me. It wasn't in her will. She didn't say, Michael, I want you to have these. She left the realm of the living, unceremoniously, as one does. And there was lots of stuff left in her wake. And these popsicle molds were among the rubble. And now they're mine. I could say, she'd want me to have them, I guess. But do I know she'd want me to have them and not Stevie? Maybe I do. I don't know whether Stevie ever used them with Mom. Maybe Stevie doesn't even know we had them. I think I only saw Mom use them once. They play no prominent role in my maybe a decade of memories of her. They weren't special to her. They were just there. And they were hers. That's also a strange framing. Why were they hers and not Dad's or ours? It's important to me that they were hers. They are a thing that she had, and now they are a thing that I have. And somehow, I make that mean something. I've only used them a few times, but more than she had. They're currently filled with espresso, bad idea, and lattes, better idea. I've made a bunch of fruit pops, and at least once I made Coca-Cola pops. I think when I talk about them, I make a point of saying that they were hers. Whenever I do that, I wonder if people are conscious of what that might mean to me. There are 6 types of people. People who I know don't know. People who I think don't know, but actually do know. People who I don't know if they have any way of knowing. People who I know should know, but I have no idea if they know. People who I know should know, and I think they know, but how do I really know? People who I know. And even among these, sometimes there's still an aha moment. They say, oh, yeah, right. That's so nice that you get to have some of your dead mom's stuff near you. Wow. That's a whole bunch of stuff about mom, and I let you know, but only just now, describing that final type of people, did I say dead. What a great device this is. My mom left me insert item. Isn't that kind of magical right there? You know, or at least have a good idea, that she's dead, and I didn't have to say it. This is one of the things I've come accustomed to struggling with. How important is it that right now, in the middle of the thing I'm actually trying to say, I drop a bombshell? If I'm telling you a story that has prerequisite knowledge, that after fighting cancer for 7 years, my mom died when I was 13, the week after my bar mitzvah, how do I just sneak that in there? I don't want it to turn into a whole thing, to derail the conversation. I appreciate, but don't relish, another woman on a first or second or third date getting teary-eyed because I said my mom died. Well, I was really just trying to preempt a question about why I have a stepmom, or to tell a story of why I have such and such intimate or random possession of hers. For years after she died, for at least 5 full years after she died, my experience led me to think that every person I interacted with truly needed to know that my mom had had cancer and died. I thought that telling people would help them understand me. And another time, I'll write about being misunderstood. You know what's an ineffective way to build a connection when you meet peers as a teenager? Hi, I'm Mike, and my mom's dead. There was no easy way to learn that lesson. So I'll add this one to my repertoire. Note to self. When talking about a thing that was mom's, just say, my mom left me her thing, and be done with it, and go enjoy a latte popsicle.
Okay, my piece is called Songs of the Soul. Teenage angst is real. Your brain screaming, heart pounding, feeling like life is just happening to you, and you have no control. Parents bossing, siblings fighting, high school judging, you feel deeply the injustice of it all. Seeing life through a narrow peephole, the kind where you can see the world, its images disfigured and out of focus due to the narrow hole you are viewing it through, feeling like no one sees you back. Not realizing yet the impact of perspective on your vision. Having your life dictated by your parents, by brands, by the social norms, by what it takes to be accepted. Moving for a parent's job, the thought of the friends that you'll be losing, and the seemingly impossible transition, nary a thought in their mind, seeming like all they care about is money. The connection between money and your life, not yet solidified in your mind. A rude awakening to befall you in your 20s when you start paying bills. Not seeing how much your parents care and why they do what they do. Instead, locking yourself in the closet with a bag of pistachios, reading Harry Potter till the day turns to night, your own fantasy escape from the pain of your own brain. And all the thoughts running on autopilot, and yet somehow never ending anywhere. Never arriving at a concrete, solid, or safe-feeling destination. However, the thing your past self doesn't know is this. While teenage angst is real and sung, so too are the reflective strings of an instrumental Irish song that can look back on its past with a deep belly laugh, hear the melodramatic clanging of childhood songs, and recognize the dissonant strings always twang the loudest. Life is also an Irish jig. It's a fast-moving dance filled with laughter and light and tripping over your own feet, only to accidentally fall into the arms of another. It's sitting on a grassy meadow, overlooking the lake, and realizing all the places this journey has taken you. It's looking down from 50,000 feet above and realizing how small you are, but also how this world was made for you. Life is a symphony of disharmonious songs that evoke very different emotions, but eventually soothe our soul the way a lullaby soothes a baby. Songs make us feel real, and that makes us feel songs.
Hi, I'm Josh, and I'm going to be reading a piece called Gifts. Gifts. 1. Today I got wet. I figured, well, since I'm already wet, I can't get much wetter than this. So I embraced it. I didn't set out to take a walk, but there I was, walking up a hill, drawn forward by the glow of orange trees. The road started out neatly paved, but got progressively bumpier as water streamed down the street in shimmering waves. Stepping around holes, I noticed the houses getting bigger, full of empty windows. A young hawk was sitting serenely on a stone wall as raindrops fell. When I stopped to look more closely, the hawk twitched its long tail feathers, lifted its gaze, and soared off into the trees. After climbing for a time, I discovered a trail leading into the woods, and I took it. I found myself walking around a pond, listening to the rain dance in the water. I fantasized that I was there with my friend Monica from Colombia. I was cracking jokes with her in Spanish inside of my head when a leaf fell from the sky and landed on my arm. I looked up and saw a sea of scarlet sails fluttering on the breeze. The sky overflowed with leaves like fireworks bursting forth with an impossible beauty that's too much for this world to hold for more than just a moment. I looked down and saw their glowing bodies burn brightly against the brown earth, each one an open hand, holding pearls of water with such sweetness. When I looked up again, I saw a duck in the pond, looking at me, looking at leaves. We smiled at each other for a moment, and then we both floated away. 2. Today I got wet. I figured, well, it is raining, and I'm a leaf, so I embraced it. But then I got scared of dying. I wasn't afraid of falling from the sky. I know how to glide gently among the trees, how to have a soft landing, but I knew I would miss the feeling of dancing with the wind. I've never spoken with my ancestors, who I've watched from my heavenly perch since springtime. When I was young and first looked down at that brown bed of slowly turning earth, I never imagined that my fate would be to rest among them. Me, sun catcher, the one who turns air into sugar, the one who leapt out into the world, heralded by an orchestra of flowers. How could this be my fate? To be honest, I was afraid because I only get one chance to fly. I was afraid I wouldn't make the most of it, that leap into the void, the vast in-between. I didn't want to let go of who I was, not at all. I dread fading into rust. But to have wings, and only once, I was afraid it wouldn't be enough, you know? And maybe I wasn't enough. I thought all of these things as I fell from the sky this afternoon, after holding on with every last ounce of strength to the branch that bore me. I expected to land on the soft soil, sliding in to join my ancestors and hear their tales of transformation. But instead, I landed on a moving, breathing thing, the being, a sojourner in my forest, watched me stuck to him with watery glue, defying gravity one last time. Finally, the being picked me up, regarded me with eyes of wonder, and gave me a second chance to fly. 3. Today I got wet. I figured I'm dry most of the time, so I embraced it. I'd discovered a secret pond in the woods, ablaze with yellow flames dancing their way into death. But my mind moved faster than my feet, and I got lost. The afternoon's harvest of beauty rotting on the vine. I'd even forgotten about being wet when a falling leaf gave me another chance. It grabbed my arm, pulled me in close, and whispered, "Wake up."
Well, I didn't expect it to go that way. I hit send on my email to the landlord, subject, request, and sat, arms crossed, waiting for his reply so that I could curse him and his mother to hell. I had been seeing one or two since July. One morning, I decided that today was an English muffin day, and upon moving the toaster, I saw a little bugger scurry out from underneath and mock me as I stared in horror, and he gallivanted off to his next rent-free living space. Reddish-brown, not quite big enough to be in the cockroach show, but certainly batting cleanup in the minors. Scurry is a word one uses to describe mice, because they are quick and pretending to be cute, and that is precisely the criteria that this asshole meets. What was I to do but keep going about my daily business? I binged TV, cooked dinner, ate second dinner, all alongside those little buggers. As July wrapped up and August rolled in, so did more buggers. You have me fooled if this wasn't a game for them. They running around hurriedly, and me chasing after, waving around a bottle of Raid. Ari was a spectator, simply enjoying Red Dead Redemption because he doesn't see them. When the time came to send in September rent, and I paid on the first day of the month, I knew I had lost my bargaining leverage. If I didn't try now, then, well, I would have run out of Raid. Time to email Stuart. His office apartment storage unit is on the 16th floor of a Sheepshead Bay building, nearing penthouse, but not quite. He has a bicycle, child's crib, filing cabinets, and many a manila folder, all occupying the same space that he buzzes you into to sign your lease. Woody Allen gained 70 pounds to play him in a biopic about Brooklyn landlords that does miserably at the box office. Stuart, my once-a-month friend, never afraid to be prompt in reminding me to get in touch on the first of the month. Well, get in touch I did. On September 3rd, 2 days after I had paid rent, 2 months after the bugs had moved in. Like a resigned soldier, I marched into a battle of email lingo, and I pulled out all of my ammunition. Just touching base. Hope you're doing well in this unusual time. All the best. And of course, I reminded him that only recently I had sent him a check containing the majority of my pay stub. They say war is mostly waiting, and wait, I did. Do I put email alerts back on my iPhone? No. Do I watch Selling Sunset while refreshing my Gmail app every few minutes? It's sensible. And there I was, 2 episodes in. Stuart's reply. All caps. The devil. Sure. ABCO will call. Okay. Cool. The only response that seemed to fit Stuart's reply was a thumbs up emoji, but it felt too lackluster for this grandiose victory. This was the Paris Agreement of exterminating negotiations. Thanks, I sent back in all caps. I sat back, uncrossed my arms, and put down my bottle of Raid.
The Poets I Knew Once, Part 1, The Siren. She was a seance at sea, wave-tossed eyes with curly blonde hair that always looked as if she had just drowned. A scarf draped like whispers to cover the crucifix of her collarbones, classy like a funeral that never quite reaches its cemetery, a smile like a burning field. She drenched the room in Jameson-dipped smokestack breath. She had an accent that turned heads, soft vowels that made men blush after lingering on the vein of her neck just a second too long. She always smelled like fresh earth, and when her name was called, moved towards the microphone like a ghost ship drifting through fog, quietly reading eulogy poems that extinguished the torch of my lighthouse. Requiems that pulled me like a riptide toward the almost melodies of her words, tumbling from blue lips like water over the edge of some unknown falls, and carrying with it a simple question. How much pain have you held? And is it enough to see mine? It was. It was. Part 2, The Savage. The way he rapped reminded me the way my uncle drank, ceaselessly, in long, quiet gulps, words that would tumble from his mouth slowly at first, eyes closed, head downcast, as if he was meditating before a battle, and when finding some crack in the armor of language, he would open the bellows of his breath, gathering speed as his rhymes grew more complex. His words spit in gathering momentum, grains of sand that split from stillness, becoming an avalanche of metaphor until the fury would rise, and his mind would cloud over, and all you could hear was the darkness, in perfect timing, with dancing beats like broken bones. Ghosts would break out of the prison of his throat and dim all the lights in the room, a barbarian slinging words like swords of shadow, till the room was drowning in the wet work of his tongue. Part 3, The Fury. The way she mapped her scars was marvelous. Tattooed the edges of them in shades of razor blades, held them to the audience's throat. Allowed us all a chance to see what trauma tastes like when you lick it long and slow from the source. She never read her poems, more whispered them softly to draw you in, long and lean, hesitant to recognize the taste of guilt as one you had drank to fight off the cackles and the deepened silences of insomnia's hold. And when the tension between the mirror of her misery and your own silhouette was too much to swallow, she would wail as a mourner, hair strewn about on the floor as snakes, until shame rose in your throat for deeds that you had not done. She had a way with shame, knew the exact mouthfeel it would make as it bloomed in between the teeth of the listener. God, she was majestic as she tore us all down. Part 4, The Union Man. He handed me my first whiskey ginger, clapped my back, laughed at my nerves, knew there was something blooming in me, put a pen through my palms, told me to crucify the ego onto the page, but never lay long enough in your casket for them to find you, to slip out the cave of your misery early and drink deep enough that you felt no shame as you danced naked into the night. He never let me forget my privilege, made me buy him back that whiskey ginger and laughed when I coughed on his Newports. Taught us that poetry is not something you can sell door to door, but you could trade them for a cig or a shot if the moon was on your side. And when my words ran dry, empty of the blood bloom that all writers martyr onto the page, he dipped me in the river of his heart, told me that if I kept at it, they would come. Keep living, kid, he said. And the words will come.
Hello, this is Faby, and I will be reading Stories of Summer. 1. Melted Summer. Fleeting summer, wait for me. I run trying to catch up, but I can only manage to scratch up my knees. Melted popsicles in my aunt's stove, result of careless summer, of children laughing too hard to realize their hands are as sticky as their sweat on their backs. Cold drops racing all the way to the ground. I shed my clothes to jump into a lake mirror in the sky. That way I can pretend I am jumping into clouds, wondering if it will feel the same. I wonder if floating face up on a cloud is warmer, the sun closer to my face, burning my cheeks and making me want to sleep right there. The heat kisses my eyes into a semi-slumber, and just when I finally feel I can catch up to summer, and it will stay with me, it slowly fades away. Sun hiding behind clouds, I feel the chills in the water. My legs get colder and my mom calls to me with a towel, trying to entrap whatever warmth is left. I walk of shame to the car. I keep looking over my shoulder, hoping the sun will suddenly shimmer again on the lake. I am more sad than tired, but I'm still pretty tired. So I stop fighting back. Is it what it feels to lose your summer love? Phil was replacing sheep on the way home. I fall asleep counting them on the back seat of the car. The hot air coming through the window hits my face with anger. It's a miracle I don't wake up. 2. The last night of summer. The sun felt cold. Stars look prettier when alcohol blurs them out. Lines of light come out of them like trying to run away. I wanted to run away, or maybe was it to run back? Saying goodbye has always been hard. There is something about the cold salt taste that forms on your face when the breeze hits just right. Being drunk always made the feeling stop. But that night I was feeling everything. Every grain, every wave, every movement you made. We laid down while the rest were running around. The party for you and me was over. I was leaving and you were not. Hearing I will miss you made me choke. Tears started to pull up. Was that a confessional love? Was that the moment you saw me like I always saw you? I didn't want to go. You were making it worse. Was my unrequited love suddenly accepted? Was the moon, the waves, the salt creating silver ghosts, flooding my vision, haunting me with tales of summer love, telling me us was actually happening, so I would not go. You hugged me and walked me home. No kiss, just a hug, but that was enough to not let you go. Thank you.
Good afternoon from Jerusalem. My name is Sam Belmonte, and I'm going to be reading my piece called Homebody. But first, I want to give a huge gratitude to Mira and Faby for organizing the event and for organizing the recording afterwards. A huge gratitude to Base Brooklyn, to Faith and Rabbi John. Thank you so much for holding the space for us. And thank you to all of you, both who came the evening of the reading and who might watch later. Okay, Homebody. Part 1. What is home? A thing you have to build and rebuild inside yourself and with loved ones. There is a thread going all the way back to your first feeling of home, whether you can remember it or not, and pieces of your old homes travel with you, but never the whole thing from the past. It's the feeling of, maybe I can do this, and maybe it's okay if I can't. I give and receive love even when I am uncertain. I share my triumphs and my fears here. It is a combination of people, places, rituals, and the unseated place firmly within you that is a time traveler. When missing home, this is real, and this feeling also tells you that you are in the process of building a new version of home right now. What a terrifying and exciting time to ask oneself, what do I want my new home to be like? How do I want to craft it? Who do I want to build it with me? It's the place where you take off your pants at the end of the day and eat ice cream. Part 2. Where is home? I'm driving down the winding forested road past my alma mater. The final notes fade away as the radio host says, "And congratulations to Rita on becoming a grandma. Her grandson was born yesterday, and this song is for her." I wait at the light to go over the only bridge into town. I drive past a home with a collection of moving boxes on the lawn labeled Rita's Kitchen and Rita's Bedroom as I draw nearer to the Goodwill with my trunk full of donations. I've never seen my grandmother's name come up anywhere else before now, just after her death. I pull up and I am greeted by a friendly staff person asking if I would like a donation receipt. I unload the various household items, a lamp, games, odds and ends. In the corner of the trunk, I notice a cookie tin. I open it to find sewing supplies, and I am greeted with the smell of my grandparents' house. I plunge my nose to inhale, then quickly close it to save this precious resource for another time. I am transported through time and space. I am inhaling love. In some ways, selling my grandparents' house was harder than their deaths. The last feeling of security in the world, gone. The last illusion that I might still go visit them, surrendered. I stood in the living room helping my grandfather pick out the outfit he wanted to be buried in, running up the stairs for him when he wanted to see a different tie or jacket. Here he told me, "You know, frankly, without your grandmother, I am just not interested in being alive." His recliner facing the couch across the room where she had slept the last days of her life, and months before that, so that she could be in the same room where my grandfather slept in his hospital bed when he couldn't make it up the stairs anymore. I didn't sit on that couch. I stood with him. I had sat on the floor and held my grandmother's hand as she lay on that couch and slipped into unconsciousness for the last time. In more joyous moments, I had wrestled my cousins in that same living room until my grandmother came in and proclaimed, "You're gonna get bounced straight to the moon," which only made us laugh harder. She wasn't serious until she switched out of English. The world stopped if Grandma yelled, "Vinoshe, enough!" I played darts while my grandparents sat on their porch swing, and I crowded around the kids' table for holiday meals. I sat in the kitchen and helped Grandma make pierogi. I spent sneaky moments with my grandma, where she'd share her candy stash with me, pulling me aside in the milling chaos of a happy house filled with family to offer me a Rolo from her kitchen drawer. Sure, the candy was exciting, but it was this time with my grandma, where she made a little world with just the two of us in it, even if just for a few moments. That was home. My grandfather would hold court with his 1950s radio host voice, even though he worked in hardware by trade and his father had been a baker. He'd weave a story about eating in a restaurant, calling customer service, going to the supermarket or a high school baseball game, and create a thrilling, multifaceted sequence. You would sit for half an hour enthralled with the curiosity for what would come next. At the end of the day, you couldn't retell it the way he did, and you would realize it was just a simple story. But he made it grand, larger than life, showed the details and beauty of human connection, even in the most mundane moments. I helped clean out my grandparents' house after they died when my aunts had to sell it. I lay face down in the empty living room before I left that house for the last time, inhaling the scent and filling my fingers with the plush of the carpet. The couch gone, the recliner gone. The room skeletal, empty of what had made it familiar, except for the mountain visage on the wall above where the couch used to be. That was glued on. I wanted to take that carpet with me. I wanted the people, but I couldn't have them, so I wanted to take with me the place in which they had loved me so well. I will take their things to try to keep the feeling of my grandparents loving me, of being a secure place in my world. I used my grandfather's hammer to affix the mezuzah on the front door at my first apartment. I host Shabbat meals at my grandmother's kitchen table. I wear my grandfather's button-down shirts to Kabbalat Shabbat services on Friday nights. When the week ends, I don his shirt, wrapping myself in his love and sealing it in against my skin with each button fastened. Sometimes, people tell me that I am a good cook. I cannot take credit for it. This is my grandmother and how she loved me. Sometimes, people tell me that I have a nice voice. I cannot take credit for it. This is my grandfather and how he loved me. What a painful delight to become the way people loved me. I get to carry them with me. My grandparents are not here. They did not choose this leaving. There are so many leavings. Leaving my family's home, leaving my family, leaving school, leaving Massachusetts, leaving New York, leaving Jerusalem, leavings unknown, yet to come. I think perhaps this concept of chosenness is not so holy. It is chosenness to remember the wisdom of displacement, the feeling of leaving, of how to begin again, even when you feel pitted against yourself. If Adam can till the soil from which he was made, I can weather this uncertainty. If Abraham can leave his known world, I can get familiar with what I do not yet know. If Noah can prepare for the world ending, greeting each passerby knowing the certainty of the death that is their fate, you can walk towards your unknown fate. If Joseph can be betrayed by his family and build a new one, what's to stop you from building more love in your own life? Did the people marching in search of the unfathomable promised land not know joy along the way? You will not get to know which story you are in until the end, perhaps not even then. My home becomes a collection of physical sensations. With the letting go of my grandparents, home dislodges from the imagined permanence of place or people. Home becomes the memory of the feeling of running barefoot through a wooded mountain path after a long day of farming, the evening light caramelized by the shadows cast off the surrounding branches, the sensation of the waffle-patterned shirt against my chest and sweat rolling down my back, feeling the hard packed dirt as the ball of my bare foot slaps down and presses off, the gathering, collecting, bunching, bracing of my quads mid-stride, rhythmically exploding forward and releasing, feeling joy opening in my chest in the wake of a breakup. Powerful, confident, connected. My legs can hold me and take me anywhere. I can rebuild. The same legs that burst into a sprint, propelling me forward at a moment's notice, my lungs inhaling and my side cramping, away from the man chasing me down the streets of Cairo. That stood firm beneath me the last time I looked in my father's eyes, knowing I was leaving and not coming back. That carried me out the door that day. That ran up the mountain in a thunderstorm, drenched and gleeful, to stand among the swaying treetops as I watched lightning strike the valley below. The legs that feel a sense of ease and settled strength each time I take the first step out my front door to be greeted by the air. There have been so many last steps. There will be so many more. There have been so many first steps. There will be so many more. If you're brave enough to not wear a shirt when you step out the door, to show your scars and stretch marks and round stomach, to insist on existing and taking up space with your soft and weary body, you get to feel the wind rustle between the little hairs on your shoulders, careen down your spine and the space on your back between your shoulder blades. Your chest will rise to greet this wind, and you will feel all the best parts of these homes that are no longer coming to greet you. They are in you. They are yours. You can build again. Thank you.